The other thing we know as it relates to gun violence isn't just gun violence and certain types of crime, but then also issues as it relates to the police. Of course, it's been kind of centered in the news. Everyone knows about it, particularly as it relates to African Americans falling victim and being involved in officer-involved shootings. One thing that's interesting about these particular incidents in particular that I'll speak to throughout my talk is that if we look at these settlements, who can tell me who pays these settlements? Who knows?
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers. I don't know about you, but regardless of how I feel about this, I don't necessarily think my tax money should be going to this. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I think regardless of where people are on the aisle. So maybe we need to make certain types of changes. For example, when someone dies in a hospital, and I know this because my mom is a nurse, my grandma is a nurse, my wife is a nurse practitioner. That's what I was supposed to do before I discovered a sociology class. Thank you, sociology, for changing my life. But and so yeah, clearly I was supposed to go to medical school, but sociology found me. I found it, and I've been grateful for it. What's interesting though is when there's malpractice in the hospital, or when someone just dies due to someone giving the wrong medication or something like that, insurance covers that. But with these type of incidents, taxpayers are covering this. I think as taxpayers, you have to ask yourself, is that's what you want your money to go to? In places like Chicago, they actually appropriate police brutality money for claims. A certain amount of money every year is already appropriated because they just know something's going to happen. So in a case like Laquan McDonald, who I don't have up here, but Laquan McDonald, this was a multi-million-dollar settlement. So I think these are things that we kind of have to think about. And I think we can draw this comparison, as I heard yesterday, about the Beatrice Six. That here you have a group of people who were falsely accused of murder. And now all of a sudden, a jury awarded them $28 million in a town that simply doesn't have the money. What do you do? Clearly, money's due these people. What do you do in this situation? Should taxpayers cover it? There's not even enough tax money to cover it. But what if we had a model similar to what they do in hospitals, which is where you have insurance? Say police departments have insurances. And similar to the way that your own insurance works and your own hospital's insurance works, based on the level of claims being paid out, dictates how much that premium is going to be for the police department. I think there are different ways we can start thinking about this. There are some people who tend to think that we should use police pensions. I'm definitely not necessarily on that because I think police officers have worked hard for their money. They're underpaid. They're overworked. I have 5 police officers in my family. Believe me, I know. And so part of that means, but I think that we need to think of more creative ways to do it. And this is why. This is the number of what we call officer-involved shootings or justifiable homicides or death by legal interventions or police killings, depending on who you talk to, dictates what words you say, and those words do matter, depending on who you talk to. Police officers would say officer-involved shootings. Over the past 20 years or so, we've seen a significant increase. That's not because there are different people being police officers. This has to do with policies. And I think that's very key. Policies over people. We blame people oftentimes for the outcomes we see, when there are policies that impact the outcomes that we actually experience. Again, the violent crime rate, even though it's increased over the past couple of years, but I just have it through 2012. But overall, that's still been the standard decline. Over the past 30 years or so, violent crime has actually significantly dropped in the United States. But again, that doesn't stop us from turning on the TV with the 24-hour news cycle, thinking that these kind of things are problems. This is the kicker, though. And this is why what I'm saying with this point matters. What you're looking at the top is the percentage of different racial groups, blacks, Latinos, whites. And then just go to that bottom row here. This is the percentage of people who are killed by police when they're not attacking nor when they have a weapon. Who reports this information? Police officers. This is information directly from police officers. Now, the other problem I have is that we only have this information from 16 states. 16 states. Now, is this because police officers don't want to report the information? Not necessarily. I think most police departments, and I can tell this part because I think parents will get this because it was shows I used to watch growing up. Most police departments are like in the heat of the night. Parents, y'all remember in the heat of the night? It was like 10 police officers. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the resources to do that. So it has to be scaled up. But this is why it's problematic. We know how many people get the flu every year. We know how many people get killed by jellyfish, but we don't know how many people are killed by the police. I don't know about you, but that's a problem to me. You know, these are the kind of things that we are letting go, and we're all paying our money as taxpayers, and we're just letting it go that way. I think these are the kind of things we need to think about.